Hey, welcome, guys. Let me tell you, if you are concerned about your finances and if you're wondering how things are going to change or how they're going to be different for the new year, let me tell you, you definitely want to watch this video. In this video, I'm going to share with you this one thing that's going to change your financials, your finances, and your financial life forever. If this is your first time seeing me, my name is Alex, financial planner and retirement specialist. And today, guys, I really want to talk with you now because more than ever, it is so critical and so important that you pay attention and become intentional about your finances. Let me tell you, a lot of times people say, oh, money isn't that important. And there are more important things than money. And let me tell you, money isn't everything, but having money does affect nearly every part of your life. And so if you want to have more options, if you want to have a better quality of life, and quite honestly, with the way things are going, if you want to be able to do more than just survive, you're going to have to pay attention and become intentional about your finances. So I'm not going to belabor the point too much, but I'm just going to go ahead and get started and get right into it. What am I talking about? I'm talking about you must understand exactly where you are with your finances in order for you to know what comes next. I know you may be experiencing your life, you may be experiencing your finances or your lack of finances, whatever the case is for you. But as we go through this, you will see how understanding where you are and the decisions that have led to you being where you are, how those make a huge difference. Once you understand and know that, then you can learn what you need to do different. I'm not going to say better or what you're going to need to do right versus wrong. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say what you need to do different if you want to have different results in your life. So, like I said, I'm going to get right into it and get started here. So, I want to share my screen. And as you can see, hopefully you should be able to see my wealth pyramid. And so, guys, I want to be able to go through and just share with you the 6 levels of financial of finances, okay? So that you're able to understand exactly where you are and what needs to happen in order for you to go to the next level, okay? So let's get right into it. So as you can see here that we have, like I said, we got several levels, all right? The first level is obviously level 1. We have level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, and level 6. Now, at each one of these levels, there are different experiences that people are having. If you are someone who's at level 1 versus someone who's on level 4, then how you experience life is probably going to be dramatically different. So let's look at it. Let's look at it. So level 1 is what we call financial survival. That will be your level 1. What does that look like? That looks like living, as I say, P to P or paycheck to paycheck. On this level, people are stressed about bills. On this level, people are probably relying on credit or relying on other people. There's usually no savings at this level, right? That's usually what's happening on level 1. Okay. So if you happen to be somebody who's on level 2, what that looks like is what somebody would say is stability, where you have financial stability. So you've moved from a position of survival, and now you're at a level of stability. Okay, what does that look like? That means at this level, your bills are paid, right? Got paid bills. You might have 1 to 3 months of savings, right? Maybe your debt is going down. Maybe your debt is going down. Maybe you don't have a huge amount of debt. Maybe there's still some debt, but debt is coming down. Okay. So that's what level 2 looks like. What does level 3 look like? This is where we say there is a level of independence, financial independence. Okay. At this level, someone has investments that's working for them. Okay. They could survive without working. It'll be bare bones, but they could survive without working. That's the dream level. That's the level that all of us would like to be at, right? We'd like to get to the place where, you know what, we don't have to get up and clock in and go to work every day if we don't want to. And things will still go on like they always have. What's next? This level 4, is financial freedom. And at this level, your income covers both your needs and your wants. Work is optional. Stress is low as it relates to finances. Did you know, by the way, that people who experience chronic levels of stress over their lifetime live 7 years shorter lifespan? 7 years shorter. And we know that one of the main stressors in life is about money. So if we can get to a place where we are able to reduce this financial burden, this financial stress from our lives, then not only will you have more options in life, it will probably help you to be able to live longer. And as people always say, what? Health is wealth, right? Health is wealth. Well, literally having more wealth can have a better quality of life and can help you live longer, because we're reducing the amount of uncertainty and stress that comes around money often. So let's go to level 5. Level 5 is a level of abundance. And then level 6 is where people can talk about legacy, where they have lived well during their lifetime from a financial perspective, and now they're in a place where they're able to help the next generation live well as well, or have a leg up. So those are the 6 levels of financial status. So what does it take to be at each level? Let's take a look at that. So if you look at all of the wealth, particularly in the U.S., if you look at the wealth in the U.S., here's what it takes to be at different levels. Okay? Let's take a look. So in terms of net worth, let's talk about what is net worth. Net worth, excuse me. Net worth is taking everything that you own and subtract everything that you owe. That equals your net worth. I like to say that this is also your scorecard. This tells you how well you're playing the game, how well you're playing the money game, your net worth. If you have a high net worth, then that likely means that you have funneled the income that you've been generating into your life. You've been able to funnel more of that income into assets instead of liabilities. And the more and more you do that over time, that increases your net worth. That's what we're looking at right there. Makes sense? Let me know if this makes sense in the comments area, guys. Talk back to me. All right. So if we look at what it takes to be at each level, financial level, then that means if you have between $0 and $10,000 of net worth, you will be in what's considered the survival level, the level of survival. That's what that looks like. In order for you to be able to get to the next level, financial stability, you should have between $10,000 and $100,000 of net worth. You see that? See that? Let's go on. In order for you to have a level of financial independence, that means net worth should be somewhere between $100,000 and $500,000. That would be your financial independence. Financial freedom, having financial freedom looks like $500K to $2 million. That's what that looks like. Next level, $2 million to 10, and then of course anything above 10 million is, hey, you're golden. You're looking good. Okay, makes sense. On the screen here, excuse me. That's what each level looks like, your net worth. So, what does it mean for you to be able to go from survival to stability, from stability to independence, from independence to freedom? There are things that you can do. And when you understand, first of all, you need to understand where you are, where you fall in this, on this pyramid. Okay. And so for you guys over here, this is what I'm referring to. Okay. So when you understand where you are, then you know you can now look and say, okay, what has led to me being where I am? Even before that, you might be asking yourself, am I happy with where I am? Because many times people don't realize that there is something not that doesn't align with where you're trying to go with your money or where you're trying to go with your life. And if you don't realize that there's a disconnect, then you won't see that there's a need for something to change. And if you don't see the need for something to change, then you're unlikely to change it because you think everything is going okay. See, every one of us has a financial system. Let's look at that. Every one of us has a financial system, okay? And if your financial system looks like this, if your financial system looks like money in, then from there you pay bills, right? Pay bills, okay? And then if you try to save what's left, that's a faulty system. That's a faulty system. Because even before your money hits your bank account, you should already know where it's going. See, one of the main reasons why many of us fail to build net worth, right, is because our financial system isn't built for us to build wealth. Because all we're really doing is working for money. We're trading hours for dollars. Okay. And that means that you can't scale. Trading hours for dollars. And so you're always limited in the amount of income that you receive. So if we're trying to take the money that we receive, that we get coming in, and then if we pay bills first, and then we try to save what's left over second, that's the reason why we wind up not having money, is because the cost of living is getting to a point that after you get through paying bills, you don't have anything left. So we wind up usually saving nothing. The average savings rate in America is roughly about 4%. The average person saves about 4% of what they make. So that means if you make $60,000 a year, most people are saving only $2,400. Just 4%. And many other people are not even saving that, right? So, in order for you to move from survival to stability, to independence, to freedom, you have to know, first of all, where you are on the spectrum. Because when you understand where you are on the spectrum, then you can start taking the necessary actions to move up to the next level. So if you are on the survival level, what's the first thing that needs to happen? Let's talk about that. The first thing that needs to happen in order for you to move from survival to stability is you need to start creating a plan. That is first and foremost. You have to have a financial plan. What does that plan look like? It looks like you know where your income sources are, and you're working on developing multiple sources of income. You want to be able to add sources of income that are passive, that you control, and is scalable. Scalable meaning you're not limited in terms of how much you earn because you're not able to work more hours to do it. You want to be able to have something that you could potentially, instead of trading 1 hour for each additional hour you make X amount of dollars. You want to have something that if you put in one additional hour or you put in one additional system, you're able to grow the amount of money that you make exponentially. You want to be in a position where the money that you make doesn't depend on the number of hours you actually put in to earn those dollars. So that's what I mean by scalable. So you need to have a financial plan, income, savings plan. You need to have a tax plan. How do you handle your taxes so that the additional dollars that you're earning, that you're generating, don't go to more taxes? You need to have an investment plan, and you need to have a plan that protects you, your family, your assets, and the things that you have built along the way. Okay? This is what your plan should include. So the first thing is you need to have a plan. The next thing is you must eliminate high interest debt. High interest debt. See, if you have high interest debt, that means when you pay money out in high interest, and I'm talking about anything that's over 10%. If you're paying more than 10% on any debt that you have, that would be considered high interest. Obviously, credit card debt, high interest. If you have personal loans that are over 10% interest rate, high interest. Okay? So you want to be able to eliminate as quickly as possible the debt associated with high interest. Why? Because each and every dollar that you have in debt, if it is over 10% and over, that means they are siphoning off 10% of your money in interest. And so you have to get rid of that, because that is the interest that you're paying to your creditors is money that should be staying with you so it can go into building your financial assets instead of their financial assets. Make sense? So that's the next step. So you want to develop a plan. That's number one. Number two, you want to limit high interest debt. And number three, you want to start working on an emergency fund. Now, one of the things that people usually will ask, well, Alex, do I do high interest debt first, or do I start doing emergency fund first? I'm going to say you do both first. Yeah. All right. And the reason being is if you go about tackling your high interest debt, which makes sense, but if you start with your high interest debt, if something happens where some type of emergency happens where you need funds and you don't have any funds available, then that means that you wind up usually doing what? Going into more debt, going back into debt again. And so that's the reason why it's important. Pay off a little bit of debt, start saving a little bit of money for your interest, for your emergency fund, and start doing both simultaneously. And so that way, if something happens and you have a financial emergency, roof caves in, your child has to go to emergency room, an emergency medical or hospital bill, something happens with the car, you want to be in position where you're able to pay for it without having to go into more debt. Okay. By the way, roughly about 43% of people in the country cannot cover a $400 emergency. And so that's the reason why it's so important that you start setting aside money and you start working. You start setting aside money. Make it a goal to set aside $500. So then that way, if something happens, you have a stash that you can go to help pay for whatever emergency has just popped up. Then, of course, you want to keep building. You want to have that money go from $500 to $1,000. Okay, and so that becomes the most important piece. Okay, and I'm gonna go to the I'm gonna go to the next level. If you happen to be on the level of stability, okay, level of stability, here's what you need to do to go to the next level. All right. Again, keep working on paying off debt. And if you've paid off debt, now you want to really work on that emergency fund. Okay. And then the next thing is you want to make sure that you get insurance. Insurance. What type of insurances am I talking about? Hopefully you already have your health insurance either through your employer or through the marketplace. I know things are crazy right now in terms of premiums. I understand. But let me tell you, what's even crazier is not having insurance and something happens from a medical standpoint and you get $100,000 medical bill. At least your health insurance will help take care of that medical bill so you won't wind up in bankruptcy because of medical debt. So you want to make sure that you do have some health insurance. What's next? You want to next make sure you have life insurance, particularly if you have young children or a spouse who is dependent on your income. You want to make sure that you at least have money to cover your final expenses if something happens to you at a minimum. But if you also have a mortgage, if you have children who depend on your income, or a spouse who depends on your income, or if you have a mortgage, then if something happens to you, that means your money is no longer coming in. So you want to make sure that you have enough insurance to help take care of those expenses for a period of time. But in addition to that, you may not pass away. You might get sick or hurt. And health insurance doesn't take care of your living expenses in that instance. You still have to pay the mortgage. You still have to pay the car note. People still have to eat. And permanent life insurance can be a way for you if you got chronically ill, chronically or critically injured, or you had a terminal illness, you're able to accelerate your death benefits. So life insurance is not only good for you if you happen to pass away and your family needs the money, but the life insurance helps take care of you if you happen to get sick, hurt, and unable to work. And there are many other good reasons why life insurance is also a good, powerful financial tool. It can be there to help you in terms of building up supplemental income for retirement. Great way to do that. It also becomes a tool for you to be able to grow your money without having to pay taxes. Remember right here, you want to be able to reduce the amount of taxes that you pay. So having life insurance can be a way for you to generate more income for you to be able to build your wealth without having to pay taxes on the money that you earn. Okay, so that's a lot of information. But if you change this one thing, if you understand where you are on the wealth pyramid, what level you are on the wealth pyramid in terms of your net worth. If you are on level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, wherever you are, in order to get to the next level, and I've only gone through 2 levels so far, but in order for you to go from survival to stability, here are the things that you need to do at the survival level in order for you to be able to get to the next level. Develop a plan, a budget, and a financial plan. And if you don't know how to do that, definitely comment below and reach out to me. Also, if you're not sure where you are, where you fall on this financial pyramid, I have a simple 3 or 4 minute little assessment that you can take, and it'll tell you exactly where you are. Guys, let me tell you, these people are not playing. They want us all to be in a place of financial, they want us to be financially oppressed. Okay? And it's your responsibility to be able to build a plan, put a plan in place so you don't wind up in a position where if something happens to you, something happens to your job, if you have to leave the country, whatever, you want to be able to make sure you have the financial resources you need and want in order to live the life that you truly want. So if you're at level 1, you need a plan. You need to eliminate high interest debt, and we need to start working on building an emergency fund. That's what's needed for you to go from level 1 to level 2, level stability. In order for you to go from financial stability, right here, level 10, the second level, then if you haven't paid off debt, continue to pay off high interest debt, continue building your emergency fund, but you might want to add insurance to your mix. Why? Because right now what you're trying to do is you try to make sure that the foundation of your financial system is rock solid. If anybody bought a house, what's the first thing that you do? They give you what? The keys. Why do you need keys? Because it's locked up. Even before you get the keys, they make sure you have what? Insurance. Right? Protection. And just the same way, you want to make sure that you have protection around your financial system. Okay? And that's the reason why so many times when we're trying to move up the wealth pyramid, we find ourselves making a little bit of progress, but then we wind up struggling. We make a little bit of more progress, and then we fall behind. And it's because we're trying to go from level to level without setting the proper foundation. And the foundation begins with making sure that you have a plan, that you have an emergency fund, and that you then have insurance. Because what you are doing is you are protecting yourself, your family, and your assets against risk of death, risk of getting hurt, risk of becoming ill, risk of lawsuits, risk of lawsuits from creditors. These are all things that what will take you may be building. Something happens, now you drop back down. But if you build a solid financial system, making sure that at level 1 is solid. I'm building up I'm getting rid of debt. I'm building up my emergency fund. I'm saving up money. So just in case something happens, I'm good. I'll be able to take care of it. And then level 2, you want to be able to build up an even bigger fund. So then that way, if you happen to lose your job, guess what? We're good for a certain amount of time until I find another job or find another gig or whatever. But that's what building a rock solid financial foundation is all about. So this is part one. Of course, we got 4 more levels to go, from independence, freedom, abundance, and legacy. And I'll talk about some of the things that you need to do from going from independence to freedom and then to abundance. But guys, understand that having a financial plan and becoming intentional about your money is no longer an option. It's no longer an option, because everything is only getting more expensive. Technology is becoming even more a part of our lives, and AI is coming for all of us. And so if you don't believe me, do a little bit of research and a little bit of study to understand how AI overall is going to impact the number of jobs that people have, the types of jobs that people have. And so if you want to be one of those persons who's not on level 1 or level 2, you want to be financially independent. You want to have a level of freedom. You want to make sure that you have $500,000 to $2 million of net worth, right? We're going to have to get serious. We're going to have to get intentional. And let me tell you, it's not as difficult as you may think it is. Your life can dramatically change in less than 12 months. And I'm going to show you how to do it. But stick with me. Next couple of days, tomorrow I'm going to be back on, and we're going to be talking about how do you go from stability to independence, and from independence to freedom. All right. So take care. God bless. Like, save. If you have any questions or comments, or you want to learn more about where you are, if you want to take the financial assessment, financial fitness assessment, comment below, and I'll make sure I get you the link for that. All right. So there you have it. Take care. God bless. We'll see you next time.